Hello, people of the internet. Ian Altosaar the Freedom Astrologer once again here, and I'm doing another video. Wouldn't you believe it? This one, this one is about learning from your mistakes, and actually, maybe we can even go deeper. It's also identifying through the natal chart how to see what areas we might face, those constant tests and maybe even mistakes, blockages, problems more so, and how to learn from them and what to do about them. And I'm going to use relationships as an example. Most of us have relationships, but this video is all about Saturn again. And it's a little bit about the placement of Saturn. It's a little bit about the hard aspects Saturn makes to different planets in your birth chart. But as we are talking about relationships, so I'm going to focus on Saturn in the 7th house. You can see in my example here, Saturn is already placed in the 7th house. And we're also going to use Saturn and Venus square and opposition combo as an example as well, because these are quite similar. Now, let's go just deep dive into it and start. Now, if you don't know already, maybe this video is a bit more for those who have already some indication of what planets mean, what houses mean, what signs mean. And if you don't know, please go and look at the mini lessons in astrology, how to read a birth chart series on my channel. And what did I want to say now? Basically, we're going to look at relationships, we're going to look at learning from mistakes and identifying the areas where we are most inclined maybe to make those mistakes. Now, Saturn is, we can say Saturn is mistakes as well, but it's a lot to do with, different kinds of blockages, problems, hardships, we can say, difficulties. I think these are the main ones we need to have. And it is actually, I want to say this, it is a lot to do with mistakes as well. And wherever Saturn is in the birth chart, there is a tendency to make more mistakes, especially when Saturn is retrograde there. In this case, in this example, you guys can see it's not retrograde, it's moving, it's direct, it's moving. And these are, this is the first indication, just knowing the placement of Saturn. This is where all those kind of negative things come in mind or come more in life as well that I mentioned. But also it's important to understand from a Saturn perspective, it's about learning from those mistakes and becoming a master or mastering that area of your life as well. Now, in this case, in our case, we have the Saturn in the 7th house. Now, this does mean usually very often that this person is going to, at least in the first part of their lives, experience those, let's say, more negative things in relationships, more hardships, more blockages, more generally just problems there. It is when Saturn's condition, obviously now we're getting into more of a deeper topic. Saturn's condition needs to be evaluated as well. But the word of caution here, guys, I've seen charts where Saturn is very, very strong. And let's say again, example in the 7th house or with the Venus, and still the person has, even the Saturn is strong, which in more traditional astrology kind of doctrine should mean that they don't really have problems with relationships. They are more, let's say, attracted to older people. Maybe they get into relationships a little later, but still, even with the Saturn quite strong in charts, I've seen people having problems, issues in getting into relationships, and once they're in relationships, they have issues with the partner, problems in the relationships. And we're going to discuss these now further. And now this is one of the indications I want to show you, Saturn in the 7th, and the other one is I will have an example of Saturn opposite Venus here as well. Saturn opposite Venus or Saturn square Venus is also very important. It's a very similar combination to having just Saturn in the 7th house, because remember guys, 7th house is the natural house of Venus. And now what does this, one of the indications, what does this mean? It means when Saturn is in the 7th or in hard aspect to Venus, it very often means that the person has to experience, in this case especially because Saturn is retrograde, repeated mistakes and kind of problems in those relationships, and quite similar in nature as well. So just one example is with the Saturn and Venus opposition square is maybe the person at a younger age, this is more curious about, it needs to have, the other things in the chart as well a little bit, but I'm just bringing an example how it can look like. So for example, maybe they have a curious eye, but they are in a relationship, more committed relationship, and now they start to, venture outwards from their main relationships, cheating. I'm literally saying cheating here. So they start to cheat in their relationship. Now, what does this do, especially with Saturn combination? It's a very, very tricky one. So this, if you don't say this to anybody, or your partner actually, that you're going to go outside of the relationships and do different things there with other people, this can be, considered as a mistake and a problem in the relationship. And in general sense, a problem or a mistake regarding relationships as a whole in that person's life. So the person is basically making the mistake. Now, what Saturn actually really does here with these hard aspects and hard placements is it can bring that person the same thing back to them. So basically, the partner starts cheating on them as well. So as you can see, this is a bit of a problematic situation. And, when a person isn't able to learn from this situation, now, for example, now they get in, that relationship, ends. Let's put it quite frankly. Most likely, if both people are cheating, then most likely it's not the best foundation for a relationship. But now, as we go in further, as the person gets into a new relationship, the same person with the Venus and Saturn square opposition, or for example, Saturn in the 7th, we can put in conjunction, Saturn conjunction here as well. Now, if they get into their next relationship and start doing the same thing, Saturn will certainly again bring those same kind of lessons in relationship. Let's say now they learn from this mistake in relationship, and they are, let's say, keep themselves in the monogamous relationship like they promised. It's a lot to do with promises as well, because it's Venus, it's diplomacy, the promises we make to other people, the deals we make, and don't be, if you're agreeing to being in a relationship where it's kind of you and you, or one-on-one relationship, don't be naive enough to think that that's not an agreement. Of course, that's an agreement. That's an agreement made between the two of you. And Venus is a lot to do with agreements. It is agreement. Now, even if, first and foremost, if they don't learn it in the first part, it's going to keep repeating, and they really need to start learning from this mistake. And the first thing is to start noticing that pattern within themselves, that they're more, inclined to go towards that, and then it will happen to them again and again and again. And the first step is literally coming out of that pattern, is to, okay, even if, other people do that stuff, I'm not going to do it. And this Saturn opposite Venus, or Saturn square Venus, is a great indication, very big indication that it might be happening, or you might be doing those things. Now, the second thing happening here, for example, is that similar problems start to emerge in relationships. It can mean that the partner you are, let's say, attracting or picking for yourself has very similar kind of issues. And maybe at first you can't see them, but they start to kind of unravel, and let's say they're not getting better, and the partner isn't working on these issues consciously. And very often what can happen with this is the person with these configures can kind of ignore them at first, and then later on it can just come to the surface, because Saturn is time. It can take time there, and then the problems become evident, and then the relationship breaks. And this can, again, because remember, it's Saturn, repetition, it can repeat many times in a person's lives, until, this is key, until they start making those adjustments, making those let's say decisions, starting to observe the people who are coming and who are they letting into their lives, and who are they forming relationships with. And this is very important to kind of take practical measures with this. Remember, Saturn is practical measures. Start observing, start looking at, okay, so is this pattern repeating? Am I choosing again the similar person? Am I going out? Am I being the asshole, in the situation myself? Am I learning from these kind of repetitive? Remember, Saturn is repetitive, so it's kind of constantly repeating. And I think, every, human being with a brain can basically look at, the relation, in this case, the relationship life, and start to see that there's a pattern that is repeating, and then start to step out of that pattern, step out of that, those similar mistakes, and then with kind of like the practical maturity, practical age as well, and making those kind of practical decisions yourself of, okay, they can do it, I'm not going to do it. Okay, am I going again with the same person, similar patterns? I step out, I pull myself out of that and choose something different. And Saturn really wants your practical efforts. Saturn really wants your organization of the situation as well. And it does, very often it does come with age, with the Saturn, but it's important, it doesn't have to come with age, because Saturn is so evident. Saturn is practical material manifestation of something as well. So it will make it so evident in your faces, in our faces, to be really frank, that you literally need to make those changes, need to make those decisions yourself, to step out of those patterns, because Saturn isn't really a comfortable planet to working with, so it does make it painful. Remember, it's let's take the cheating situation for example. You know, having somebody cheat on you isn't, you know, the best thing to feel and to experience. And this is one of the maybe deeper things of this pattern as well, because Saturn represents karma as well. You know, do unto others what you want to be done unto you. So if you go out with this Saturn kind of square opposition and you know, break those vows, break those promises, actually, because this is all about you. You made those promises, and break those promises to the other person. It's going to come back, you know, the karmic part of Saturn is going to come back and kind of bite you as well. So it's going to make painful, and then you're allowed or given the chance to make that decision and to make that shift and to make that change in your life, in your relationships, to not do that and start something else. Choose something different. Guys, I hope this makes sense, and I hope this kind of example also makes sense, and I hope these configurations make sense. It is a bit of a deeper topic, very deep topic, quite hard topic, I would say as well. But this gives you at least hopefully an indication where you can find those problem areas. And remember, guys, it doesn't always have to be relationships. It can be a lot of things. You know, when let's say Saturn is, you know, in hard aspect to Mercury. You know, it's a lot about, you know, those kind of skills and administrative tasks you need to do. And, you know, so you can make mistakes in communication with your words, or with some administrative task, kind of make those repetitive mistakes constantly. So you need to really practically step out of the situation and start making adjustments, because Saturn isn't, you know, anything kind of wishy-washy, woo-woo kind of Pisces energy. You can, you know, visualize and you wish and pray for things. No, Saturn is really, you know, wants order, and it wants you to put things in order. When it's with Mercury, it wants you to put those administrative tasks, those things you say, the things you write, into order. Remember, and you can use this similarly with the other planets, with the other houses as well. And practical efforts, practical organization, make it as tangible, and organize those areas, especially diligently. Let's put it that way. And let's keep it at that, guys. Thank you very much for listening, watching, enjoying. Like, share, subscribe, share the video, whatever it is. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And see you again soon in the next video.